Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Ivani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, November 22nd. It's nice to see some green. Yesterday, all three major indices notched wins. The Dow jumped 461 points, or more than 1%. The S&P 500 added 31 points, or more than 0.5%. The Nasdaq eked out a gain of 6 points, or 0.03%. Bill, let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're flat to low. We're down 0.05%, which is marginal. The tech stocks are experiencing a little bit of a pullback this morning. The key for today really is going to be the flash PMI data. These are the early data on manufacturing and services that's coming out about 15 minutes after the opening. They are expected to show additional improvements, so I guess that's positive. We had some good earnings report last night. ROST stores, NTAP, GAP, they're all moving higher after releasing last night. There are indications that Russia's possibly open to discussion of a peace plan. We'll see if that has any effect on the markets. But in Europe, markets really have turned. Markets were down hard. FTSE was showing a little positivity because the mining sector was positive, but the DAX was down hard and the CAC was down, more than 0.5%. And now they're trading higher. You get the DAX up 80 points, or 0.42%. You get the FTSE trading higher by 0.98%. The CAC is trading higher by 0.17%. The thing is that the PMI data also came out in Europe, and that was they were weak. The PMI data was not positive, and that goes into how the ECB is going to react when it comes to lowering interest rates, and they're going to be very dovish. Markets are indicating a 40 basis point cut in rates when the ECB meets next. So negative news on the PMI is actually positive news for the European markets. Then we're turning to look over at Asia. Asia was mostly higher, but the Hang Seng and the Shanghai did fall. The Nikkei jumped 257 points, or 0.68%. That there's talk of a possible government stimulus plan. Inflation started to slow, so that market did jump 0.68%. Then you got Hong Kong. Hong Kong fell 371 points, which is 1.89%. And Shanghai fell 103 points, which is 3.06%. You did see weakness due to a lot of tech companies' earnings. Baidu, was really weak. But in China, the government stimulus program, the market feels it's not going to be enough, and there's nervousness over potential tariffs that could be possible under the new Trump administration, which is also helping to weaken the forward guidance for Asian equities. Turning to oil. Oil is interesting because oil this morning was trading higher. I was seeing it tick higher, and I was really surprised. But that action has now turned south. You look at WTI, it's at $69.55 a barrel, and Brent is at $73.69 a barrel. That's down about 0.75 of a point. Oil is still on track for about a 4% gain for the week. But we'll have to see if oil's able to weakens further. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, you did mention that flash PMI data will be what investors and the markets are watching this morning. We will get to all the economic events of the day in just a moment, but before we get there, let's turn to earnings action. A couple of interesting retailers to note here. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Got to start off with the GAP, ticker GAP, Grace Edward Paul. They beat by 14 cents. Although it was done on lower revenue, that stock's up 17%. So, good report. ROST stores, ticker ROST, Richard Oscar Sam Tom. They beat by 8 cents. Also on lower revenue, but that stock's up 7.16%. Intuit, ticker INTU, they beat by 14 cents on higher revenue. That stock's getting hit. It's down 2.76%. No earnings this afternoon. Monday morning we do have an earnings report from BBWI, Boy William India. That's Bed Bath Works. EPS is 46 cents. Expected move is 10.98% when they release, Emily.
Turning now to economic events. As we mentioned, there is one piece of data everybody's looking at 15 minutes after the market opened, but a couple of other things to note. So, Bill, give us a rundown of everything we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Yeah, at 9:45 a.m. you get the PMI composite flash report. These are the early reports for November. 10 a.m. you get the consumer sentiments, the University of Michigan number. 1 p.m. you get the Baker Hughes rig count, and at 6:15 p.m. we're going to be hearing from Fed Governor Michelle Baumann. Yesterday we did get the jobless claims, came in a little lighter than expectations at 213,000 new claims for unemployment versus the estimates of 220. Lower figure, does continue to show resiliency in the labor market, despite, the cooling that we saw over the summer. But this morning, it's all about the flash PMI readings. You know, they are, October's readings were at for the manufacturer data was 48.5, and the estimates for the November reading is coming in at 48.8. So that's positive. That's higher. And the services PMI is expected to come at 55, which would be higher than the October reading of 54.1. So we could have some good PMI data to look forward to, which could help the market today, Emily.
And Bill, as soon as that data comes out, you will be the first to see it hit the tape. You have your NewsWare, you have them set up into alerts for economic reports, for Fed speak, for that earnings action, and you're still breaking down news, data, and information into other types of sections, things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You also look at stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. This way you can track trends on any given trading day. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Just doing a quick data check on my Dow stocks. I got 14 higher and 14 lower and one unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks, mixed activity, some losses in Google and Meta. But Tesla, Netflix, Amazon, and Apple are trading with some slight gains. So it's a very mixed opening. You're looking at some of the news behind the headlines, like on Apple, EU regulators are closed an investigation into Apple on how they treat rival audiobooks developers in their app store. Yet they also recommended that Apple and Google's duopoly in the mobile ecosystem for such as the Apple Store and the Google Play be investigated with its new powers. So that's causing a little cautiousness there. Google, all the talk is about them having to sell the Chrome browser. You got a new administration coming in less than 2 months. It's going to be hard for them to kind of do that without legal challenges, which could reverse it with a new administration. So I think that they will survive this FTC call to break up and sell off and have Google sell off Chrome. I think they'll be able to hold on to it. Other news that I see hitting the tape this morning, the Dow Jones 30 stock, Apple's rolling out more conversational Siri in 2026. Remember, they developed this 13 years ago. They really had the lead, and they really didn't do anything with it, other than put it on the iPhone. But now they're really going to start to try and bone up and do some more with their Siri voice assistant. Honeywell, they're going to ticker HON. They're going to be selling their personal protective environmental business, protective industry products for $1.325 billion in cash. Boeing, ticker BA, they were awarded multiple defense contract modifications. I think the estimated value is like $4 billion. Good for Boeing. You look at shares of Boeing; they're trading slightly higher this morning. In terms of merger news, I should point out PepsiCo, ticker PEP, Paul Edward Paul. They're taking full ownership of Sabra and Oblé brands. Guidance news, we got the GAP, ticker GAP. They raised their 2024 revenue growth view up to 1.5 to 2%. Ross Stores, ticker ROST. They see Q4 EPS coming in at $1.57 to $1.64. Street estimates at $1.67, not great. NTAP, ticker NTAP, they see Q3 adjusted EPS coming in at $1.85 to $1.95. Street estimate has $1.85. That's an uptick into it. Ticker INTU, they see Q2 EPS coming in $2.55 to $2.61. Oh man, the street estimate's $3.25. That's a big downtick. That's why you're seeing Intuit sell off this morning. In terms of shareholders meeting, SpringWorks, they're holding an annual meeting today at 8:30 p.m. That's ticker SWTX, Sam William Tom X-Ray, and Advent, ticker AVT, Apple Victor Tom. They're holding an annual shareholders meeting today. It starts at 11 a.m. In terms of buyback news, CRBE Group, that's ticker Charlie Boy, Richard Edward. They announced an extension of its $5 billion share buyback program. And Tapestry, TPR, Tom, Paul, Richard, they're going to repurchase 2 billion shares under an accelerated share repurchase agreement. That's positive news. And that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us to end this week?
I like Tapestry, TPR, Tom, Paul, Richard. I don't have a lot of earnings to play, but I do like Tapestry. That accelerated buyback is positive news. So I took a quick peek at yesterday's call volume. 4,253 calls versus 1,062 puts. Gosh, it's 4-1. That's huge. And open interest is negative. Those 67,928 to 104,893. Okay, I'm not too concerned about that as much, but the major brokers are raising price targets on it, and that and that's a big buyback. And the fact that it's accelerated only helps the stock price. Now, I think the market's going to open up a little weaker this morning, so I'm hoping to get in at a discount. I'm looking for a price target of 57.50, 57.60, kind of in that range, and for it to rally from there. But my pick of the day is TPR, Tapestry, Tom, Paul, Richard, Emily.
Tapestry, it is today, trading on that sort of news cycle with the buyback news. And coming up before we sign off for the weekend, we will check in on yesterday's pick of the day. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
WTW, William increases share repurchase program by $1 billion. Wow. Johnson & Johnson seeks FDA approval of one of their drugs. Okay. DirecTV to call off Dish Network takeover after bondholders balk. We kind of knew that was happening. We've been talking about that for a couple of weeks now. Biden administration to add nearly 30 Chinese companies to its blacklist. Merck, the FDA found that their asthma drug, Singulair, impacts the brain. That's not good, but the stock was down on that news, but has since turned positive. Teladoc, TDOC, elevated call volume yesterday, 9.4 calls every one put. Something's going. And they were this week's options. BJ's ticker BJ, they're following Costco's lead, and they're going to be increasing their membership fees as of January 1. Alibaba, ticker BABA, Boy Apple said it would integrate its domestic and overseas e-commerce platforms. The FAA plans to convene a review board in the coming weeks to consider safety concerns about the engines on Boeing 737 MAX after 2 bird strike incidents. That's just a waste of time. Stanley opened up a new Southeast Asia headquarters in Singapore's downtown district this week. And that's all I have for you this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off, get to trading on this Friday, and get to the weekend, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Keurig Dr. Pepper. Now, Bill, you were hoping for some weakness in the stock here, and we're looking around 32.15. If I have my numbers correct, it actually opened up lower than that, and I see it ticking up this morning. Hoping to see some recovery in sort of the healthcare food sectors yesterday, getting some momentum there. So, Bill, how did your call work out?
It worked out. KDP, Keurig Dr. Pepper, stock opened up at 32.01 and then fell to 31.87. Then it rallied and it ran up to 32.30. And you look at the stock this morning, 32.40. There's your 1% off the opening price. So yeah, it was a winner. At the end of the day, it was a winner. It eked out the gain, but sometimes eking out a gain is better than a loss, right? So Keurig Dr. Pepper, KDP, winner.
I will take that 1% any day, Bill, and we will check in with you on Monday about today's Tapestry pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Vani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.